to enter a world of true crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
What's up, y'all? I'm back. Juror 13, Carly. So, good evening, good night, whatever you guys are doing. I'm in California time, so it's 6:55 here. And I know a lot of people are on Central or Eastern time, but yeah, I wish I could come at 5 o'clock because that seems like the perfect time. I was here earlier, had to get my daughter, then I come back. What's up, D. Berlin, Sadie's mama? And I did everything I could, so hang in there with me until I get this perfect, everybody. I promise at some point I will, because I love perfection, and that's how I do my cases. I want everybody to know everything about everything, and I want to make it perfect and show you everything. And I'm like, I don't have OCD, but I'm kind of OCD about the cases I present and wanting to make it right. So thank you for being here. And tonight we're talking about Stephan Sterns, and we're talking about his May 13th trial, as well as what role Jenn is playing, what we think. I can't get this case off of my mind. It's just all day long. That's all I hear is about this every day, all day. And I just keep thinking about it. And it's in my head, and I know it's all over social media. And there's so many people that are passionate about it that, yeah, it just keeps coming up. So let's play this first video, and I'm going to get through this with y'all and not keep you up too late. And also, while I don't keep you up too late, I still want to hang out too and just not think about anything. So here we go. Check this out. Hold on.
Sweet.
Yeah, that is what a former officer turned professor says about the lead suspect in 13-year-old Madeline Soto's death. Well, she's Megan Mulatto found out why there is still no charge specifically for her death.
No matter what, he's not getting out of jail.
Professor of Forensic Studies at Florida Gulf Coast University, David Thomas, says if Stephan Sterns is convicted, he will never see a day outside a jail cell.
Originally, they charged him, I think it was 1 or 2 charges in the very beginning. And that's fine because they got him off the phone. And so now what they've done is they've done a complete forensic analysis. There's no doubt in my mind that's exactly what they did.
No, we're not going to do this again. I'm going to bump this down a little bit.
And he has recorded almost every incident that he had.
Sterns is the lead suspect in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. He was arrested for several charges, including sexual battery with a child, after detectives found pictures and videos on his phone. Then they found more evidence, leading the state attorney's office to file 60 new charges against him Monday, including 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child and 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12. The charges, enough to be sentenced to life in prison if convicted.
Capital felonies means that he'll face life, he'll be in prison for life. And there's no doubt in my mind they have the evidence to secure, to make those charges, they have the to support that.
Thomas says now the question is life in prison or the death penalty if Sterns is charged with Madeline's murder. He says there's likely already enough circumstantial evidence to charge Sterns with murder, but he thinks detectives with Kissimmee police want to make sure their case is sealed.
Is give law enforcement and give the medical examiner's office an opportunity to do their job, because it takes time to do a great forensic analysis.
Absolutely.
Because they want to make sure that justice is served and served properly.
In Kissimmee, Megan Mulatto, WESH 2 News.
All right, so that's what we're talking about today, and we're talking about Stephan Sterns and how the whole world's looking at him, how he's probably never going to get out anyway. He hasn't been charged with murder, but we have to do what we talked about earlier. Cross our T's and dot our I's. So That's what the police force has to do. And he has a trial set for May 13th. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. There's not murder charges yet, Sadie's mama, and that's why we're talking about this, because if you watch my live stream earlier, we don't want them to mess up. And we want to know what role that Jenn Soto plays in this. How is she connected? What's the DNA evidence? Do they have it properly? They don't even need murder charges at this point to keep him in forever. And so that's why we're talking about this, and everybody's looking at him. And I mean, I can't stop thinking about this case, and I just want to watch it with you. So it's just crazy. Another thing I want to say, and I'm going to show you in a minute, because my favorite person, Vinnie, he just can't get enough of it either. And it's on his mind and it's bothering him. We all want to know about the autopsy. So I'm going to tell you, and then you're going to listen to a couple people say the same thing. We're going to get the autopsy, guys. I know it's Florida. I know they're strict, but the media is not going to let up on that. So whether he pleads guilty or doesn't plead guilty, somebody's going to get it, and we're going to get a hold of it, and we're going to find out what happened. Don't worry, but I want you to hear from other people besides me, because we're not a speculation place here, and that's just not how we roll. So let's put the next thing up while I'm talking to you. I want you guys to see what's happening. The law that passed, is the law going to apply? And hold on, I know you can hear it. 1 second. We're only going to do part of this, and I changed some settings, so we're kind of all over the place right now, but I'll get there, guys. All right, so I'll put him up there. I should have did the automatic thing, but that's okay. I didn't, and that's how it rolls. I'm figuring this out with everybody, so we're going to listen to what he says about the law that passed for a little bit, and the autopsy report, etc. So let's do that together and let it roll.
Big already. All right, here we go. So the medical examiner report. The medical examiner report.
So he did
a lot of information, obviously, right? A lot of information, but for those of us following the case and those of us covering the case and everyone invested in finding out the details and what the evidence is and where it's leading, etc. Here's the situation in the state of Florida. A lot of people have been mentioning this special law that they passed in 2023 regarding examiner reports. And there's a level of protection that's been put in down in the state of Florida. Let me give you the backstory. Because this is not a black and white issue. I think we're in the gray area. So the law was passed in 2023, I believe, in Florida, because there was a case involving a man who took the lives of his children, then took his own life. And the mom was the surviving parent. And it became a big story. And the details that were revealed in the medical examiner's report were made public, because that is the law down in Florida. It's a public document. Public documents are public. They call them the sunshine laws. They let the sun shine in, transparency in government.
But
she was upset. She was very upset as the surviving parent of this domestic violence situation. And she got the ear of the legislators, and basically they came to this conclusion. From her perspective, it was difficult for her to heal with all of this information being made very public in the case. Obviously, there's an investigation, but there's no suspect because of the way it all ended with him taking his own life. So the law was created to protect surviving parents in the case where minors are the victims of DV, domestic violence. DV, I'll call it DV from now on, victims of DV. So as a result of that situation, the law was set up for those circumstances, because unfortunately that happens way too often. But again, to protect the surviving parent.
So you're hearing it from a ex-lawyer, and now he is a million cents on that is right. Ex-lawyer, and now he is the face of CourtTV, and then now he has his own podcast, which this is Vinnie Politan. Everybody knows him. He knows the laws. He knows the laws in Florida, and so he's explaining to you all why we don't know things yet, why it's taken so long, how the laws have changed, and I could explain it to you too, but I figure going back and forth with these people will be more justice.
Minor children, victims in a DV situation where their lives are lost. So the medical examiner report / autopsy is not automatically made public. It can still be made public, but the surviving parent has a right and a role in whether or not it will be made public. Okay, so that's the backdrop for the story. That's the history of this law, and that's why it exists. So now you have to apply the law to different circumstances. You want me to give you what I believe realistically will likely happen here? I think because of this law, I think the medical examiner's office will, and prosecutors, whoever has the documents, will err on the side of caution and not release it publicly because they don't want to get sued for violating this law. So what happens next?
Public. We're YouTube,
so what happens next? Well, let's look at it this way. First of all, is this the type of ME report that was intended to not be public by that law? Yes and no. Arguably yes, arguably no, depending upon the role of the mother.
There you go. This
depends upon
so
the role
much
of the mother.
Listen
if the mother
carefully.
is a co-conspirator in all of this, then I don't know if she has a right to block it, because the law was intended to protect that surviving innocent parent. Now, that may be who she is, right? She may be 1,000% innocent.
Do you hear this? And this is why we're talking about May 13th trial date, what Jenn Soto's role is, what Stephan Sterns has done, and how we're going to get the outcome of what we want. If she's involved, it's going to be a lot more transparent, y'all. And if you're following me and if you've been watching my stuff, like, share, subscribe, get this out there. Guess what, everybody? We're going to get her involved because we know, and we'll eat our words and we'll apologize to her publicly if we're wrong, that she doesn't have a role in it and she didn't do something. I will apologize to her personally if I can, okay? But I think she's involved and very culpable. So let's keep going.
He hasn't been charged. We've heard that she's not a suspect in these charges at this point or at any point so far. So if that's her status, then it seems like she would have veto power over that being made public. Okay? But there's another way to interpret this. The other way to interpret this is she under suspicion? Is she part of this?
We hope so.
This conduct that is being investigated, and perhaps the conduct that will be the subject of charges finally for what ultimately happened to Madeline in this case. So her role is crucial in this. And also it's a different scenario. It's not a case where it's DV and 3 people are gone and there's one surviving parent.
There you go.
He wasn't even a parent.
Nope.
So he would have no say or role in any of this anyway. So the realistic answer is I believe it will be withheld for fear of being sued. Okay, they'll err on the side of caution. We're not going to release it. You'll see it. You'll hear it at trial, at the preliminary hearing, whatever. So what happens? So what could happen if the public / media believe this is a misapplication of that law, and it's actually a public record that should be made public? The media, whether it's one person running a website or a news organization or a series of news organizations, can file in court for the release of this, and then a judge would make the decision. So, and that,
I hope you guys are listening very carefully. I carefully picked this content today. I have multiple different channels and different streams going on. I've got like 5 different things and different clips I picked for you so you can hear what he's saying out loud. Please hear what he's saying. Okay? I'm not telling you guys what to do or what we're going to do, but listen to what he's saying and how this is going to happen, and we're going to make it happen. We want to know what happened. We have the right to know what happened.
So it's in somewhat gray area, depending upon exactly what the facts are at this point, which are not 100% clear. So will we or won't we see it? I think if we do see it, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. But it absolutely is part of the investigation, it's part of the evidence, it's part of the case. So when the trial happens or pretrial motions happen and issues come up, the information will be made public because it has to, because we have public trials in this country. Everything is public. That's so we trust our system of justice. And Florida generally does a great job with this.
Absolutely.
Great job with the
Typically.
transparency in government, but they've carved out exceptions. Now, the other thing you need to know about medical examiner reports is that pictures, photographs, not public records. Not public records. Now, they may be part of the evidence in a trial. Sometimes you'll see them, sometimes you won't. It depends. But remember, like if a famous, and this all started because there was I believe it was a golfer who died, or maybe it was a NASCAR driver, I can't remember, died, and the autopsy photos and pictures were public records at that time in Florida. So they were publicly disseminated, and people said, that's not right. That's not really right. So photos and pictures no longer public down in Florida. So you won't see those necessarily, but the protection of minors is something that's real down there. But I gave you the history, so I hope that makes some sense to you. So,
all right. Well, we hope that makes sense to you all, and that's what I wanted to share of Vinnie's. I don't want to sit there and listen to all his thoughts. I already did. I love him. He hit his 1 million mark, everybody, and that's freaking amazing. I'm so glad that he hit his 1 million mark. I said 100. I need my 1,000 mark, everybody. So while we're in between this, please like, subscribe, share, do all the stuff, rewatch, whatever you do. Let's get me to 1,000, okay? And we're going to keep going. So I hope that answered that question for you. You see what's happening in the case. We're moving forward. We want to get justice. You guys can see my hair now and everything, right? It's in 3D. You can see all my flaws. Damn, maybe I should go drop it down. I'll drop down the it's too high now. Okay, anyway, so I had to make light a little bit. I'm looking here and I'm like, damn, that's too much. That's too much. Hi, everybody. Hi, what's up, Crystal? All right, so I'm hand-picking this stuff for you, and I really want you to just listen. I want to also introduce my friends. They're not my friends, but they're like friends because I watch them so much. They answer questions, and I just love their stuff. We're just going to listen to them for a few minutes. If you guys know Joel and STS Nation, I just want you to hear a few things about what they're saying about the case, and keep in mind that they're talking about this case too. Everybody's talking about this case, guys. Ladies, women, people, they, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to be inappropriate. So everybody, I always say guys. Let's just listen to them for a minute. What they're talking about with the case, the laws in Florida, and how they're interpreted. And he has experts on his show. So let's listen for a few minutes. I have it marked at a certain time. Let's go.
Oh, well, she had no power and no resources at her disposal.
Come on, don't skip on me there. Don't do that.
In that way, which is quite sad.
And to you, what do you think could have been the trigger here?
This is the trigger. Madeline Soto's death.
Again, just to reiterate a little bit of what Anna said, she very likely didn't fall in love with a monster. She fell in love with the facade of a person who presented himself as somebody that was safe to be around and that her child was safe to be around. That's how they get in, right? And then things really change. And then when you go to the end of the timeline that Anna also just referred to, what we know from at least adult domestic violence cases is that often when a victim talks about leaving or threatens to leave or does leave, the risk of lethality to that victim increases by.
I just want you all to know that this lady's being devil's advocate, and she's talking about Jenn Soto if she was a victim. And I got emails that people are mad at me about for saying that Jenn is part of this. They're literally mad at me for saying that, and they're saying that that Jenn didn't have anything to do with it. She's a grieving mom, and so that's where this lady's coming from. I don't buy it. I don't care what you say to me until I see it, but I wanted you to know what she's talking about. So they're taking their turns and talking about the case, and she's playing devil's advocate.
75%, because really what it is, and so whether we're talking about a similar situation or emotionally abuses, physically abuses another human being, that's about control. That is about I'm in charge and you are not. It's a power differential completely. One person has the power, the other person doesn't. And when that person, if that person begins to take actions or make statements about possibly taking that power back and leaving or running away or telling or showing the video to the police,
there you go.
Could that be a trigger? And of course, this is 100% speculation, right? I'm just talking hypothetically.
It is
absolutely
speculation.
That could be a trigger to a person that cannot, in their mind, afford to give up the control or be found out.
From Daisy here, this is to Belkis. There's been some speculation out there because no homicide charges have been brought. But the question is, could Maddie have taken her own life in despair? And that's why he's not been charged with her murder. He then hid her body, knowing an autopsy would show evidence of the SA. Is this a possibility?
I just want you all to hear everything, all perspectives, okay? And you guys can talk crap behind the scenes. You guys can say whatever you want, your thoughts. I'm telling you what I think, but I have to have all perspectives, and that's all I do in life. I have all perspectives, and I take all sides. I take them in, and then I say what I think. So I'm listening to these people, and their thoughts for me are off the wall, but I respect what they're saying. I don't believe it. I don't even know why somebody would say that. I mean, I get that. I guess if they have that situation, but just listen, it's going to go back towards our side.
Possibility, Belkis, or very unlikely? Because there's also eyewitnesses who saw him driving with what would have had to have been the body in the car. But, people don't understand, hey, why have there not been homicide charges yet? So is this plausible?
I mean, anything is possible. Anything could have happened that evening or that early morning. A lot of things are possible. I think when it comes to a homicide charge, the reason that hasn't happened is because they have all of these other charges. So they have enough to hold him. He's not going anywhere. He's going to remain in custody.
Nailed it.
And now they have all of the time they need to put everything together. The state is not in the arena to just jump on something and charge it, because the speedy trial rules do exist. And if someone knows, if a defense attorney knows you've charged my client with something and you can't prove it, I'm going to hold you to that. And we're going to move forward. And when you can't prove it, then that's the end of that. And so now they can do what they need to do. They can take their time, do the autopsy, do whatever investigation they need before they actually bring forward charges, because that's not really going to change what's happening with these other charges. The case that he has seems like a slam dunk. And so I think that allows them to work more patiently. There's no rush. They want to do it right.
One more question.
And to you, the ME report, as far as we know, hasn't been released. There are really strict rules in Florida with the age of, making it publicly available. And she's obviously in the category where it's not supposed to be released. But the media usually does a pretty good job of letting that out. Why do you think we haven't really heard, manner, cause of death, any of these things yet?
That's a great question. My guess is it has to do with testing results, examinations, perhaps consultation with other experts. And I could be wrong about this, but I think she was not found for about 4 days. And in that 4-day period of time, things.
I didn't know it was 4 days.
It can.
See?
Things can happen, right? Things can happen in a 4-day period of time with a person that is deceased. That can be a little bit of a challenge. And so my guess, honestly, and it really doesn't seem that terribly long to me. I also, because she's a child, it very well may be that they know what the medical examiner has concluded.
They do.
And are considering that without so far the public having received any.
Carly, I love you. Anyway, besides this comment, I thought it was the next day too. And see, I can't keep track of all these cases and have notes and have strings attached to my wall. I don't get paid anything to do this. I'm just bringing awareness to everybody. I thought it was the next day too. So as we're watching these things, we're learning stuff together, and we're learning facts and people that have education behind them and their opinion, so that we know and we can have educated guesses, not just outlandish stories about stuff. So thank you, Carly, for saying that, because I thought it was the next day too, and it wasn't, apparently.
Information or the media about that.
Michelle clarifying that she turned 13 on February 22nd, not January 22nd, but that could have certainly been a trigger, was that age. From Danielle Malley to Anna, how common is that boyfriends, stepdads abuse their partner's children? It makes me anxious when I see women introduce their children to every guy they date. What about that, Anna? How discreet does a mother have to be if she is a single mom introducing her to different potential men in her life?
Well,
all right, so we know the answer. I really just wanted to bring you some of this information. I have my things all time stamped and ready, so I went even past that. So you guys can always go to STS Nation. I love Joel, and his wife is the COE. They call her the chief of everything because she does everything. She's amazing. I think I should get I'm not calling myself amazing, but I think I'm the COE too. I'm the COO and the COE. So STS Nation, check out Joel and the COE, which is his wife, that run that podcast. It's great. They come with good news. Good information, I should say. It's not good news because it's it's about true crime. So check out STS Nation. Joe Fo Show. What's up? I haven't seen you here before, but I wanted to shout out, and I hope I said your name right, but I do like that name. Joe for show. If I said it right. All right. So let's keep going. I got lots to show you tonight, and never enough time, everybody. Never enough time. All right, let's get this thing going. Let's get this party started, but not even close to a party. Maybe for old ladies like myself. All right, let's do this. I'm playing it small so you guys can hear it better.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Her remains discovered earlier this month in a wooded area in Kissimmee, Florida. And her mother's boyfriend, Stephan Sterns, is the prime suspect in her death. He has not yet been charged in connection with her death. He's only facing child sex abuse charge pertaining to beautiful Madeline. CourtTv producer Cody Thomas returned to the scene of the crime. He is joining us.
I'm trying to figure out how to get this
with
right.
the very latest. Cody, good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Julie. We did, of course, take that trip down Hickory Tree Road, ultimately where Madeline Soto's body was found by police. And in all essences of the phrase, when we went down that road, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, moderately busy, a lot of flat land, but eventually after going 3 or 4 miles down that long span of road, we did eventually find the exact spot where Madeline Soto was found by police. Let's take a look. So we just turned onto Hickory Road where Madeline Soto's body was found, not to be confused with Old Hickory Road. That's where police and investigators say they did catch Stephan Sterns in that 2010 Lincoln MKZ changing a tire the morning of February 26th when Maddie Soto went missing. But as we look out here on Hickory Road, we see that it's pretty flat. There are some wooded areas to the left. If you look to the road, that is the exact spot where Maddie Soto was found. But right here behind me is the memorial site, actually where she was found, right in between those trees. And we actually have some community advocate members out here with us, and they tell us that one of them actually has been in contact with the owner of this land right here behind me. And that morning of February 26th, they say that gate was open just across the street here in this area. This little divot off of Hickory Road is where a witness online describes where he saw Stephan Sterns kneeling down, changing a tire that morning of February 26th when Maddie Soto went missing. Now you can see it's just a little gravel divot, a lot of flat land back here, private farmland. And of course, when we were out at that memorial, Julie, we saw 5 or 6 people coming up, giving trinkets to the memorial, letters, teddy bears, just honoring the life of little Madeline Soto.
Cody, wanted to ask you, please, that area you showed us where Madeline's body was found, and it is believed by police that her body was moved in the early morning hours the day that she died. I'm curious how busy the area is. Could there have been cars going by at the time, maybe some witnesses to this that we just haven't heard about yet?
Yes, that's a good thing to point out there, Julie. When we were out there, like, it was moderately busy. We saw maybe 15 to 20 cars, but it was absolutely possible because we know it was done allegedly in the morning. So it was broad daylight. If anyone came by, they definitely would have seen him doing something if that were the case.
Right, Cody. This just sounds funny, the whole changing of the tire, all of that. So we know he was on the side of the road at one point, but we wonder, is it even confirmed that he had that flat tire, huh?
That is the question right now, because as we've been down here talking to some people, there's a Hickory Tree Road and there's an Old Hickory Tree Road.
Now, I have to tell you what I know. He did have a spare tire on his car, so I'm pretty sure he had a flat tire and he was changing it. I don't think he would have put a spare on for nothing, and that implicated him by someone seeing him in that area. So when she asked that question, I'm not really sure why, because we know the facts already, but, you know, news people get delayed and they're doing a whole bunch of other stuff. So respect to her, but they did see him with that, with the spare tire. Not only that, but he got implicated by the witness that saw him. So I really don't think that that was like just for show.
And the police report says the flat tire was taking place on Old Hickory Tree Road. A witness statement online says it was Hickory Tree Road. So there could be a little confusion going back and forth as to where exactly that he was. But it is what we've picked up to be described as right across from where that body was found. So, you know, if he was out there, could the flat tire have been a ruse to try to look like an act to make it easier to go dump a body across that fence? We'll know when more information comes out.
You read my mind, Cody. Could be staging. Our next guest will speak to that, but want to say a big thank you to you.
Now, I just want to let you guys know, I know how to do full screen, but I want you guys to enjoy this and understand the content. And right now, I just upgraded my internet to the fastest I can go. So I got to let it kick in. So we're doing it. We're playing it not full screen so you could actually hear it correctly. So when I go full screen, it glitches out right now. I will get that fixed. I promise. I'm working as hard as I can for no pay. All right, let's listen.
CourtTV producer Cody Thomas, thank you so much for that update from Florida. Now I want to bring in that very special guest. You will recognize him. He is a forensics expert. He's the owner of Kenny Kinsey and Associates, Dr. Kenny Kinsey. Good morning to you, Dr. Kinsey. Thanks for coming on the program today.
Good morning, Miss Julie. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you heard me talking with Cody about was he there making it look like he was changing a tire to be in the vicinity to dispose of the body? Curious of, what your thoughts are on that, Dr. Kinsey.
Well, Miss Julie, many times these predators really don't have a plan for the end game. So you may see a level of staging, they call it ad hoc staging, where it's not necessarily premeditated, but Sterns is taking advantage of every opportunity to dispose of this young lady.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Dr. Kinsey, I'm wondering if the homicide occurred in the home. I'm just wondering that because of the allegations of sexual abuse that have already been brought against Stephan Sterns. And then we know police have said there was a point where they've got surveillance video of his car returning to the home, and they believe that Madeline's body is already lifeless, but still in that vehicle at the time. And then they believe, the disposal perhaps may have occurred in the early morning hours the day after her death. Talk to us about your thoughts on how this child might have died, and then how the plan to dispose of her body may have been carried out.
Well, in this situation, Ms. Julie, I believe what we see is that law enforcement did enough in stage one that they can slow down the game. They have these additional charges with exploitation and trafficking of other children. So they're able to slow it down. They've got Sterns put where he needs to be, and I don't believe we're going to see him ever get out. But now law enforcement can slow down and do that methodical forensic investigation. And I'm sure they are probably processing evidence daily to get us those answers. But the perfect part of this investigation, if you could have a perfect part, was they come out of the gate swinging, and they got enough on the front end
that was them, not me.
And we may be having a little bit of difficulty with your video. Let's take a look at a clip from the sheriff's department. They're talking about the items that belong to little Madeline found in a dump.
At least it's not just me that's having technical difficulties with no budget. These guys have a bunch of budget. Okay, I don't feel so bad. Let's keep going.
Sure.
We have video evidence that shows Stephan Sterns discarding items in a dumpster in that apartment complex in Kissimmee at 7:35 on Monday, February 26th. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster.
Okay, looks like we have your shot back, Dr. Kinsey. The tech gremlins are interrupting us this morning. So I wanted to just give you a chance. The last part of what you were saying, would you mind repeating it for us so we have it, please?
No, ma'am, I don't mind. I was praising law enforcement for coming out of the gate swinging. They have gathered enough information that they can slow down now. They can be methodical instead of pushed against the wall and having to react. And hopefully they won't make those mistakes with that forensic evidence that are all too common. We all make them. But now they've got time on their side now, because I don't believe Sterns is going anywhere.
This guy is so proper. I love him. I wish people would talk to me like this all day long. Ma'am, and yes, and he's so proper. But I love it that he knows that mistakes are easily made, and he even says he makes mistakes and their team makes mistakes. So he owns that shit, and everybody should own that shit. We all fuck up, but not like this Stephan Sterns guy. All right, let's keep going. I have to commentate in between just because I can't sit there all night listening to this without talking to y'all.
That's a really great point, Dr. Kinsey. I'm thinking, and I said this on my show a couple of days ago, I'm thinking that they're doing a grand jury presentment right now on the homicide case. And to your point, you're right. They've got him locked up. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to harm anyone if he is the predator that law enforcement believes he is. Tell us, please, Dr. Kinsey, if you were hired to consult on this case and try to figure out how little Madeline died, walk us through what you would do, please.
As I've said many times, Miss Julie, I would break it up. You've got several different crime scenes here. You've got the location in the brush 20 miles away where Stern allegedly dumped little Madeline. You've got the vehicle. and then you've got the home or wherever this crime took place. But let's just say it's not in the home. Let's say it was mobile, it was in the vehicle. You still have a level of sexual assault and all kind of horrible things that, this young lady lived through prior to this act. So you've got at least 4 crime scenes from the jump. And I would break them down, take them one at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I would break it down and have someone in charge, someone coordinating the entire action. And we would work them one at a time, and then everyone get together and stay in touch. And we would put it together and try to make a great case.
Hearing you say that, Dr. Kinsey, it's the first time I've heard anyone say there are really 4 crime scenes here. That really helps you think about the actions that occurred here from the time that child was supposed to go to school and was never brought to school, and from the time that her precious body was recovered, discarded like trash. We've got to leave it there for now, but would love to have you back on this case and on many others when you have time. Dr. Kenny Kinsey, thank you for the excellent analysis today. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And when we come back, my friends, we're going to bring you up to speed on Monday's motions hearing in the Delphi murders case.
Oh, no.
As we look at.
Oh, no, we're not listening to that. We're done with that until we. No. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to save this. And I appreciate that question for anybody that's asked. I'm not monetized yet. I'm getting ready to play the next video. I'll take this down. And yeah, I'm not monetized. So I do not have any kind of super stickers or anything. I can't wait until I can get the super chats and all that stuff. I do appreciate that for even asking JoJo show. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'll put that down there later. I have Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. I think that's it. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. Soon I'll be monetized if you guys keep watching. So, all right, let's go to the next one. That was we're learning some stuff here, and I hope you guys are enjoying it, because now we're going to talk about we got to get to Jenn Soto, and now we're still speculating. Nothing's come out, but we just got to hear this out loud and hear the passion, because this is the passion that I'm feeling as well. All right, so we're going to hear this. Hold on. Slow down, Vinny. He's gets super excited like I do. And yeah, so this is what I'm bringing you. Stephan Sterns trial, May 13th so far. Okay, we learned that. We learned a whole bunch of other stuff in between. You can see Jenn Soto's role we're talking about. We're speculating, but we're all talking about it. And I think a lot of us are on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, it's okay. You can tell me too. I'm okay with that. All right, so let's watch this. Oh, I've been waiting for this all night.
She's got problems.
Jenn Soto.
This is a difficult time. Obviously, you've lost your daughter. The man you're with for like 6 years is charged with what he's charged with violating your daughter. But she's got problems. She absolutely has problems right now, because this is a homicide investigation. This is as serious as it gets. And one thing you have to understand, when you make statements and your child is missing, things got to add up. They got to add up. If they don't add up, you've got problems.
Add up. That's right, Jen. They're not adding up.
And that's what we have here.
A problem. Not
real problems, like serious problems. In how, what she has purportedly said, what she has said that we've seen on television interviews, and what she's allegedly said to police, it doesn't add up. That's a problem. Big problem. First, let's look at it this way. And I'm looking at it as a prosecutor right now.
He's a prosecutor, if you didn't know.
I'm looking at statements. I'm looking at evidence and how it plays inside of a courtroom in front of a jury. because we don't know who's going to be charged here, and we don't know what they're going to be charged with. But if she's charged with anything, she's got problems, because things she is saying are contradicted by common sense, logic, and some videos.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Common sense, logic, and videos. And as a former prosecutor, I would always remind the jury, use your common sense. Don't leave it at the door. You know, this is
Vinny feels how we do, and yeah, it's pumped and not in a good way. He wants this to be solved. He's a former prosecutor, so he's been in the courtrooms trying cases like this, and this is one of the worst cases that he's ever seen. When he was a prosecutor, they didn't have all of the stuff that they have now with terabytes of evidence and pictures. Maybe he might have seen some photos or something, but this is bad. This is really bad. So yeah, this is he's passionate, and we want both of them to be off the street. I want Jenn Soto, let's be clear, and Stephan Sterns off the street, both of them.
This is how, ladies and gentlemen, you should see the evidence. Use the common sense, use your life experience. What makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And all of that's important. So if she's ever charged with anything, big problems, and these problems may result in her being charged with something. The statement that she made, I saw her changing at 8 a.m.
Breaking it down.
Yikes. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying you saw her change? How? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Did that come from your memory? Did you misremember the day your daughter went missing on the day she went missing?
Exactly.
Impossible. It's impossible. That's common sense and logic tells you that if she says, I saw her changing at 8 a.m., she wouldn't have confused that with like the Friday before, the Thursday before. No, this is coming off a weekend, number one. And number two, it's the worst day of your life. The worst day of your life. My teenager is gone. Click, click. What was going on today? When was the last time I saw her? I saw her changing this morning at 8 a.m. That's an important fact. Important for investigators.
Also, as I'm listening to this, I also have thoughts. You all have thoughts. We're all talking about this. MFAR, you're great. You're obviously a realist too. Everybody, the crime crew has just got amazing things to say. And also think about it was her birthday, everybody. And somebody said that earlier. I heard them talking about a 13-year-old girl wouldn't leave her phone at home the day after her birthday party because she's going to want to go and share her pictures. She would have went home to go get it. I mean, we know at this point that she was deceased by then. She had already been murdered. But let's be real. Like this shit that he's talking is just real common sense. It's no police detective stuff here.
But how is that possible? Common sense logic. This is the back entrance or exit. There's a camera there. This is the easiest way to get in and out of the complex. And obviously at the front gate, there are cameras and there's security guards as well. But if you go out the back, there's a camera. It's actually 3 cameras. One gets you straight on, one to this side, one to that side. 8:19, he is seen returning to the complex. And they believe that they see Madeline in there and she's not moving. That's what police have said. Right? 8:19. Returning at 8:19. The backpack is tossed at 7:30 at the dumpster, also caught on video.
7:35, he said. I don't know what happened. It cut out. I don't know if it was him.
So this is This is the dumpster back of the complex by the tennis courts, basketball courts. And there's the camera by the dumpster. So the camera's got Sterns doing it. Now, the camera doesn't necessarily pick up the car and what's going on in the car. But she could be in the car at 7:35 also. Make no mistakes about it. Right? And there's the dumpster. So how is she getting ready for school at 8 a.m., returning in the car at 8:19, and doing all that without her backpack and laptop, and nobody in the house knows that she's like looking for this? Mom, where's my backpack?
He's so pissed.
Mom, you see my laptop? Mom, have you seen my backpack? I can't find it. I got to go to school. Have you seen it?
Stay mad. Stay mad.
Common sense and logic. Doesn't add up.
That's the key, everybody. Common sense and logic. So all these conspiracy theories about people and saying, oh, you're going to eat your words, and even more rude things to me about, oh, she's a grieving mom and you're putting her on blast and I can't believe you're saying that. No, I use my common sense and logic, and that's why I'm showing Vinny, because he's just so passionate about it and fired up, and I am too. I have a daughter that's 9 years old, everybody. My son's 24, but when he was 9 years old and 8 years old, I felt the same way. I would never let anybody even around him. Even though he's a boy, I was still very protective, and Vinny's like just nailing it with my emotions. He's just so fired up. I don't know what kind of coffee he just drank before that. I'm getting a little tired, but I feel him.
8 o'clock, she's changing. 7:35, the backpack's gone. The laptop's gone. 8:19, returning. 8:19, return. Not like leaving at 8:19, like you get dressed and then you leave at 8:19. No, she's come back already. Why is that?
That doesn't make sense either,
Why is
JoJo.
that?
For show, that doesn't make sense at all either. Common sense and
Something's
logic.
not right here.
Nope.
Now, there's also
Makes no sense.
apparent video or license plate reader of the car that she's seen and that Sterns is in around 8:10 in the vicinity of the school, which is, depending upon traffic, it seems like it's about 10 to 15 minutes away, depending upon exactly where you are. So we are led to believe that she's getting ready for school, leaves and comes back without the backpack, without the laptop, and without her phone.
Common sense and logic, people. It's not
Yet.
rocket science.
Nothing from mom saying, oh, yeah, she was getting dressed at 8, but then couldn't find her backpack, couldn't find her phone, couldn't find her laptop. We were looking all over. What?
Huh?
Or is this going to be the excuse? Oh, we came back at 8:19 because she forgot her phone, laptop, and backpack. Who goes to school without a backpack?
The day after their
Who
birthday.
goes to school without a backpack?
With their
Who's going to
presents.
forget a backpack? Nobody's going to forget a backpack.
Oh, she got presents,
phone.
remember?
I'll give it to you. Sometimes you can forget it. I don't know if a teenage girl's going to forget her phone.
The day
but
after her
anyhow,
birthday.
your backpack on your way to school, like nobody's going to say, where's your backpack? Common sense, logic. Mom has problems. What she's saying and what we know as human beings does not come together, does not make any sense. That is a problem. Your child is missing. Your child's found dead. You need to be telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth the whole time, doing anything and everything you can. Here's another problem. I want you to think about this for a moment.
And before he says that, anybody that's watching this that's going to email me later, pay attention to this, because if you're going to email me and tell me that I'm wrong and that other people's perception are wrong and that this poor grieving mom, listen to this, what's happening here. And if she didn't know anything about it and she was that oblivious, then she was a terrible mom. She was not doing her job to just leave her daughter with some man for years and years and years while he was sexually assaulting her. supposedly sleeping in the same bed with her. And, you know, these are not just rumors. These are people that were close to the family saying this. And this is all going to come out if it goes to court and he doesn't take a plea to not have the walk of shame in court. He doesn't even want them to read the charges, everybody. Stephan Sterns. So imagine if they get Jenn Soto on something. You think she's going to want to be out there and people looking at her while they're talking about her being in bed and them all having sexual acts with each other? I don't even know what. I just know that might be a thing, that she was having sex with Stephan Sterns and her daughter joining in, that kind of stuff. So that comes out to be true. You know what? Then you guys got to say sorry to me and everybody else that you're saying that's offending her. Hey, you can say it, but you're going to eat your words, because this is just common sense and logic.
Moment. Okay? Think about this for a moment. Your child is alleged to be the victim of this horrific behavior beginning in 2019.
2024, y'all.
At the hands of this man who was in your life. Documented on his phone. Documented on his phone.
And other
Where's
places.
the outrage?
We're all
Where's
outraged.
the outrage?
We are. The mom's not.
There could be heartbreak. There can be devastation. But some sort of public statement about the outrage of what happened to your child and who is alleged to have done it. What would you say? What would you do? Oh, I understand. All right. Now, this is the presumption. You're 100% innocent, right? You're 100% innocent. The most devastating and crushing news of your life. I can understand you could be broken into pieces. However, at the time she was missing, I saw her on television.
Yes.
She wasn't broken into pieces.
No. She looked afraid for herself.
And the information about those images was public before she was found.
Nothing. Crickets from her mom.
I get it. You hire an attorney. Okay.
All right.
Because you're the subject of an investigation. I have attorneys tell me every night, oh, yeah, hire an attorney.
Okay. Now he's going to get into the hiring attorney stuff. And you guys can go over and subscribe to Vinnie. I'm sure you already have. And that's great, because he's awesome. And I feel his passion and his rage. I'm there with him and with all you. Yeah, the fact is, she's not, because she knew. Absolutely, everybody. I'm feeling the rage with him. So I'm bringing you trial dates, what's going on, what's really happening, and what involvement does Jenn Soto have. All speculation. Nothing's been documented yet. Nothing's been formalized. She's hiding out in a mental hospital somewhere, I think. I don't even know that for sure. But that's what I was told. That's what a lot of the credible sources are saying. And yeah, it's awful. So we're going to hop into our next portion of this, and we're going to head back to the story of it and the twisted beginnings of things. And some people caught it late, but it's just going to be kind of a wrap your mind around this with both of them. So we've got both of them involved, and you can see my cover, my thumbnail, and yeah, it's both of them that I'm talking about. And then we're going to do some behavior analysis that we did not do on Stephan Sterns. We did the Dr. G, I think, but that he was too light.
Here, this crime bulletin on my right of Stephan Sterns. He was last seen driving a silver 2010 Lincoln MKZ. The Florida tag is IYLL82 on Monday, February 26th between 1 and 2:30 p.m. in the area of State Road 192 and Old Hickory Tree Road, as well as Old Hickory Tree Road and Nolte Road. During this time frame, it is believed that Sterns had a flat tire and might have been seen changing the tire in this area. If anyone saw this vehicle or noticed anything suspicious, we're asking that they call Crime Line.
Yeah, that's the road where Madeline Soto's body was.
Realize that we are back on Vinnie. So Vinnie has his own channel now, and he's also the host of CourtTv, and he was also a former prosecutor. So we're going to watch this 8-minute thing, and then we're going to get into the behavior panel, and we're going to roast Stephan Sterns.
Was found. Let me bring in my guests. I have an unbelievable panel tonight. Joining me tonight in Portland, Oregon, podcaster Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Make sure you're watching that. In Atlanta, Georgia, former special.
I have to say this, everybody. It's a guilty pleasure of mine that I watch Gray Hughes. He's so fucking mean and rude, but he donates to charities on his channel. So he'll just sit there on his channel. He has a YouTube channel, Gray Hughes, and he does really good things with the money that he gets from it, and you can watch him donate. But if you ask a question that's even off kilter or you say it wrong, he'll just call you a fucking idiot, like straight up. So it's a guilty pleasure of mine that I do watch his channel. All right.
Special agent in charge, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Trebor Randall. In Rutherford, New Jersey, criminal defense attorney. We used to prosecute together back in the day. Kenneth Ralph is with us. And in Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Let me start with you, Trebor Randall. All these images now, I mean, it's not just a couple pictures. It's going back apparently to 2019, hundreds and hundreds of images. What does this tell you about Stephan Sterns?
It tells us a lot, Vinny, that we definitely have a predator on our hands. It's unfortunate that, this wasn't detected sooner so that this could have been prevented, but it is not uncommon when we go in and do these investigations, whether it's a possession case or manufacturing, or whether it's tied to an actual crime against the child, a crime of violence. Like in this scenario, sometimes we have thousands of images that have to be detailed. They have to be, marked for the court. Unfortunately, many times we have to go through each one of these pieces of media, whether it's a video or a still photo, to make sure that we have an identity to the child to attach to it. And it's very taxing work, very unfortunate, but very necessary.
Kenneth Ralph, I know you were a sex crimes prosecutor for many years in New Jersey. From your experience, someone that is keeping all of these images, is that something that the people you prosecuted, they would keep for their own personal use, or did they create these images to share, to sell? What's your experience tell you?
Well, Vinny, that could be either possibility, could be true. You do have people who are doing these acts, perpetrating these acts, and keeping collections or souvenirs of these their events that they participate.
I really just want to hear what Gray has to say, and then we're going to get into the behavior experts, and it's just the last part, the one we watched the other day. So it was part 2. We did Jenn Soto. If you go back, you'll be able to see that one. Now we're going to do Stephan Sterns. This is going to get heated, y'all, because they're going to attack the shit out of him. So yeah, and JoJo for show, we're respectful in this community to our crime crew and anybody that joins. So I would never try to make anybody feel stupid. That's the only thing about Gray. He's really nice with giving donations. And yes, Juror 13, I've been watching him for years too, but it just sucks that you don't even want to ask a question because he might just call you an idiot. And I don't like being called an idiot, but let's watch this. Just a side note.
Faded in. They may be sharing it with others, maybe a small network, or maybe perhaps they're disseminating it beyond the small network. You'll have a lot of forensic analysis to follow up on here, and they'll be able to trace whether these images were shared or not, I'm sure.
Gray Hughes doing unbelievable work in his podcast. I want to play a clip from your show, Gray. You were speaking with someone who knows Stephan Sterns. Let's take a listen.
This was good. This is good.
There's just a lot of details about my interaction with Stephan, just as being, preteen and teens, that he was a very strange, weird kid. just collecting semen and bottles. My dad runs out there from the front and goes to the barn and, sees this person, doesn't know who it is, sneaks up on him, and there was a light switch on both sides of the overhang where the cars are parked. My dad flicks it on and has his Glock 10 millimeter pointed at the person, tells him to turn around and startles him. And it's Stephan. And he was over there with a camera, and it appeared to be he was trying to take pictures of whatever my mom was doing.
This guy's a fucking creep.
All right, great. Where did you track down this friend? And you spoke to others as well. And what did you uncover here?
Well, the original person called my show, a person named Chase. They called my show, and I turned that into a video by itself, just the call, because it was so interesting. On that call, I think he mentioned different things about Stephan actually putting a camera in a room that filmed into the bathroom that recorded his roommate's girlfriend in the bathroom. And then he stored all the information out on a server in the home. So I put that video out there, and then a few friends commented underneath that video, and then I contacted them and I did separate interviews with them. And man, it's just a lot of red flags.
How far back does this behavior, this alleged behavior, go back, according to these folks who came forward?
I think he was about 13 years old when he was collecting his semen in glass containers. I mean, just really crazy stuff. So, way back.
All right, Dr. Carol Lieberman, I wanted to give you some stuff to go through now. What does any of this tell you? If these allegations of the pictures, the allegations of what Gray's guests described, what picture are you getting in your mind? And ultimately, why is he taking these photos?
Well, what it says is that by the time he was a preteen, before that even, but things twisted him sexually. Things had happened in his childhood. Maybe he was abused. Maybe, people were taking pictures of him and selling them for pornography. But whatever, that there had to have been significant things that happened before this preteen age, before he was collecting his semen and taking, being a peeping Tom about, his friends.
Let's not give him an excuse, people. Sometimes it's just their nature. It's nature versus nurture, and I'm doing all these cases on serial killers, and sometimes people are just fucking evil, everybody. Excuse my language. I like to cuss when I get heated, and I don't cuss at people, but I will. It just gets me so mad because some people are just evil, and there's no excuse for it.
Mother. And this is just playing out. I mean, it's really sickeningly interesting that this is just a continuation of his acting out his twisted sexual beginnings.
And I just want to remind folks, he's presumed innocent at this point. These are just allegations. This is the way our system works. But this is the information that is coming out in the allegations that are coming from seemingly everywhere now. Now, Stephan Sterns' Facebook page says that he worked at Disney World, and many people have been wondering if that could possibly be true, considering the crimes that he's accused of. But some online sleuths believe they've tracked.
Now, I had to eat my words on this because I came out with the news after I saw it, and it said that he didn't. But here's the answer, that he did. But it's through a third party, so they actually contracted him there. So he didn't technically work for them. And I do that at work myself. I job people out to Google, Facebook, Apple, all that. So this is what.
Track down a video that appears to show Stephan Sterns working at the entrance of Journey into Imagination in Epcot
in a video posted on Travel in 360's YouTube page. We pulled a still from that image from the beginning of the video. Gray Hughes, again, pointed this out to me, where you can see a Disney employee who appears to look a lot like Stephan Sterns. Gray, looking at this, were you surprised, shocked? What else did you learn about this?
I wasn't really that shocked. I think he might be working for like maybe a contract company. So then Disney can then claim that he didn't work for them, right? But maybe he worked for a contract company. But he does appear to work there, and every single one of the friends that I spoke to said he worked at Disney. So I think he has a connection to Disney. Now, whether or not they're the ones that hired him or the contracting company, I don't know. But I think that's absolutely him right there.
It looks like him. It looks like him, and it's scary.
All right. It's him. So, and yeah, it's scary. And everybody, just so you know, people like that work there on purpose. They work at places like that on purpose. And Epcot, also goofy character. This is not something that accidentally happens. If you watch the documentary on Boy Scouts, the actual Boy Scouts, that happened back in the 80s. And whenever it was founded, they were actually pedophiles that were applying for the Boy Scouts to be around the boys to sexually assault them. And they're on camera. If you go watch the documentary about Boy Scouts, and I think it's on Netflix or something, there's a pedophile on there that says, yes, I'm a pedophile. And I worked at as a Boy Scout leader because I had access to boys. If you like candy, you're going to work at a candy store. If you like ice cream, you're going to work at an ice cream store. That's what he did. And he said that. And there was many others. A lot of paperwork that was hidden. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is really what happened. So I'm going to play the last one. We're going to go over the behavior expert of Stephan Sterns, and we can talk as much as we want about him. You guys could be pissed off with me because I haven't seen this version yet. And Dr. G was way too nice about him. We saw this one already, but I'm gonna hit play.
With any app. No.
And so where do you think she could possibly be? I mean, this isn't, as I was told, this isn't normal behavior.
It is not normal behavior. She's not the type that would just run off. We don't know where she can be. We're scared. We just want her home.
Are you, in a sense, blaming yourself?
It's hard not to.
Why?
I dropped her off early. I could have waited longer. She looked okay. She was walking to school when I saw her. It was like any other day, so I went on with my day. It's hard not to blame myself.
Chase, what do you got?
So you'll notice his tone here. Maybe Scott will include a special rendition of this that he was doing off camera here a second ago.
I can only
in our
imagine.
final clip. It's one of finality, though. It's finality. Even his language, if you listen closely, it's all about things being over and done with. He makes an appeal for her to come home, but it carries the same. Listen to this when it comes back on. His appeal for her to come home has the exact same emotional weight as you see and hear when he's spelling his name for the camera.
Yeah.
When I see this, there's always something wrong every time. Always. So the question was ambiguous and open from the reporter. And Stephan, I think is his name, could have said anything that he wanted to. When someone's in the situation and they have the floor and they default to the story of what happened from the beginning, which is potentially a story they made up for the police, this is one of the top 3 red flags you could ever see. The number one concern is the story which explains his innocence and not her disappearance or her return or her being found. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. So emotions are expensive. They take up a lot of oxygen to get them going. There's a lot of respiration involved in emotions. In order to get that kind of action in his eyes and that kind of tonality, not quite being able to get his words out. It would take a lot of oxygen and carbon dioxide, a lot of respiration to get that going. His breathing rate is not up at the right level. Just immediately, the breathing does not fit a heightened emotion of any sort whatsoever. So it can't be a real emotion because they're expensive, and he's not taking in enough oxygen and expelling enough carbon dioxide to support any kind of heightened emotion. So straight off the bat, I go, well, that's made up. He's making that up. He's acting that right now, and not well enough. Not well enough for me not to be able to see it. She was asleep most of the way, he says. I mean, I think that's odd behavior for a child. Kids that are ill, will fall in them often. Kids ill, just got in the car and they're asleep. Like they're not. They don't want to go to school. They're making out that they're ill, or they're ill, and that's why they're asleep. Or maybe the journey is a 3-hour journey, and they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning in order to make it that's a possibility. But from the description, it seemed to be a short journey. It just struck me as odd. The kid was asleep most of the way. I don't understand that. I'm not feeling his feeling, because the breathing isn't enough. So he's got no empathy from me. And in this situation, if it were real, I should be empathetic. Even me, I would feel it, and I'm not feeling it at all. So again, another reason why on an emotional level, rather than just the intellectual level, that the breathing isn't right, on the emotional level, my empathy and my theory of mind isn't firing off. So there's stuff missing. Definitely missing from there. And then he says, it's hard not to blame myself. So he's focused on himself, whereas he should be focused on her. It should be nothing about him and blame for him. He should be focused on the search right now. It's all wrong. It's all Pete Tong. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I thought he was going to break into a Bee Gees song with that tone of voice, that little falsetto cry that he does. I'm just like, look, everybody knows that when you cry, you're indifferent to what people think of you. Real crying, you're snot-nosed, snotty-eyed, you don't care. I mean, if you ever see me cry, I won't care what you think. It's just the way life is. He's not. He's a bad actor I always call it going down the well to get emotion. What real people do when they're feeling emotion is they choke it back. They contain it. They don't embrace it and try to go into it and lean into it. And he's leaning into it, Mark. I mean, if you were coaching this guy, you'd say, the hell are you doing? That's not acting. So if you watch this guy's going down the well, he's finding something, and he's probably finding something to go down the well over, looking down into his right, recalling something that makes him feel emotion so he can pull up something. Even then he can't. It's really bad. His respiration, everything about it is bad. Chase, I'll give you another bad marker that I feel like there might be some collusion. When the bird interrupted her story, she started her story over because it's important I get the facts out. People don't do that when their kid's missing. They go, just get my kid home. I'll tell you all that later. How we got to here is a different story. But they do. They start, and it's like we were just saying, when we capture prisoners, there's things we call 5S, and one of those is separate. And the reason we want to do that is because I don't want Chase and Mark talking, because then I can't tell whose story is whose. And we separate those guys. It's separate, speed, silence, safety. Yeah. I know you're doing the same thing, right?
Segregate.
Yeah. So segregate is about moving them apart so that you get the chance to be able to talk to the person and get their story. And these people are both stories that start over right at the beginning when they get interrupted. That ain't a good sign, number one. He's got deep breath and emotionally eye accessing, probably trying to get that. But then he does this thing. Go watch me when we're talking to Tarek. That's not lip compression. That is disdain and disapproval and condemning all day. He does that almost every time he says something about this little girl. And you can't see it as much because of facial hair, but pay attention. He does that lip compression, and he does a head nod or head shake. I don't think that is the confirming thing. And Scott, you're going to talk about in a minute. We'll say this is a counter shake. He's saying this when he's saying yes. Something is wrong. All this together creates a cluster. We saw her. He's back to the pronoun again, sharing those pronouns. And then when he's asked not much, she was asleep, his head shaking and lack of eye contact are bad sign. When he raises his eyes to make contact is something key to his story, is the only time he's going to do it. When you ask him a point, he'll do the other. And then when finally They ask him a question, and he starts to do this. He entirely loses the whole head shaking or nodding. That was it. He goes, shakes his head like this. What the hell does that mean exactly? You want to know. And then a single shoulder shrug as he says, not normal. Every word that he wants you to hear is punctuated with I lock or romancer, as Scott and I would call it in the true crime workshop, but it's locking eyes. We just want her home. There's, again, a head nod, lip compression, and disdain. This guy right out the gate, you look at him and you go, boom, there's that. This guy has got nothing positive in it. He looks like he's storytelling. He's using that, again, team pronoun. So let's pay attention to him. Scott, what do you got?
Every woman watching this within the first 7 seconds went, he did it. Something's not right here. You got that feeling that told you something wasn't right, because even in that short little window of time, you picked up a lot of things. When that voice he's doing, that when he's talking really like something's wrong, that's coming from the diaphragm. It's not coming from constricted larynx. That's not what's happened there. It's not that constriction that makes your voice go up. I know this because having sang background vocals for years and years, and literally we would do 50 of the
Were you in the Bee
low
Gees?
part. Yeah, I was in the Bee Gees. 50 of the low part, 50 of the mids, 50 of the highs, and then 50 of the, and these make these huge gang background vocals. That's how you do it. And that's what I would do every time. That's what everybody I know would do every time. And I know what that sounds like. And that's what he's doing. So that's fake. That is the worst I've ever heard somebody try to fake being sad. Is that's so bad. Right out of the gate, this whole thing is just full of odd behavior. So let's, like you were saying, let's pay attention to how many times we shows up in here. He says we dropped her off. Although the last time we saw her. So that tells me, I think that mom might have been with him during all this. And Mark, the point about the sleeping that you were talking about, what they found out was that he had her in the car after she wasn't alive anymore, and had it looking like had her sitting up in the car driving her as he was going, and they have video of that. That's why he said she was asleep most of the time. So, and I just happened to watch a video about that. I was like, oh, there's that's more on the kid. Right. So that's what he's talking about. You didn't have that info, so you didn't know. But that's a good call, because why would she be asleep at that point? Then he says nothing. It was like it was an ordinary day. Everything else was normal. He didn't say except for it's not normal, because she would be let off in a church parking lot. I understand how sometimes kids want to have their parents let them off when they're down at the end of the sidewalk as they walk up. That's cool. But being let off in a church parking lot way back there, remember when the mother said they couldn't tell if it was her or not because of the grainy video at the church? But then she said that was her. They could see her in the parking lot there, and she wandered off. That wasn't her. Obviously, it wasn't her. So these two have been talking about this. They're in collusion. She knows what's up. She knows what's happened here. She knows exactly what's happened here. That's why we're seeing all the fear and terror on her face, and he's doing this real quiet thing. This guy doesn't even move.
He couldn't even help himself. We're not even talking about Jenn Soto anymore, and he couldn't even help himself to go back and talk about her being involved. That's how strongly he feels. These guys are body language experts, and they've been doing it a long time. They've gotten a lot of books, education. They're educated people with educated guesses. So when they're going to play more videos so you can see, but this is not just a hunch, everybody. This is the real deal of what we're all thinking. It just doesn't, unfortunately, we can't use this in court
much. And the expressions we're seeing, that's not sadness, man, at all. He's trying to fake sadness. We don't see anything that shows. Of course, he's got a beard, but you can see through those things. You can see those movements in there. We're not seeing those things we should be seeing, like you guys were talking about earlier. You can see the mouth moving there. You can see what's going on with the mouth, even though he has a beard. There are things that are going to show you that. These two are working together. These two, and it may not be out yet. So fellas and ladies, if you're watching this and you're working that case, heads up. Something's up here. I hope we're not letting this out of the bag so she starts protecting herself. But I don't think in this case, that guy's probably going to tell on her anyway. He's probably going to, I would say. So something's up here. I think they're colluding. I really do. Of course, this is just my opinion. It may not be true, and it may not be valid and all that. It's just an opinion. So there you have that. Oh, and the part about where he does it, it's hard not to feel guilty. It's hard not to feel guilty because, oh my God, you guys, am I on mute? No? What's so funny?
No, we'd all done the lean in.
Yeah, you ruined our lean ins.
Oh, my best lean in ever. Another thing. And another
I
thing.
thought you guys were, I thought I was muted. And you guys were laughing.
My dismount was beautiful.
Oh, dude. I'll rewatch it. And here's what I'll do. I'll go back through and I'll choose a winner on this when I review it when I'm editing. Okay.
All right.
I promise you that's what I'll do. Sorry.
No, we won't.
We don't know if she's safe. We're just scared. We just want her home.
Have you, literally put boots on the ground, went out?
Yeah, I even went out with the cops where I had dropped her off. And we looked all up and down the road, all along the communities, and there was nothing helpful. None of the cameras were pointing the street. Nothing, which in 2024 was surprising. The church across the street had some cameras, and they mentioned seeing her waiting around in the parking lot for a while before moving on, and that was it. But it was grainy. It was grainy footage, and not much else.
Does it say like she walked west, east?
I don't know.
They said in the direction of the school. I'm not sure what that is.
What was the
You don't know where the
language?
direction
Not
is?
language verbally, language, body language. When you dropped her off, did she seem happy? Was she like, I'm going to meet my friends?
She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party. She was happy that we were all together here. And she was just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl.
She was
She
a
brings
happy
a lot of
kid.
joy to us, and we just not knowing.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down. I'm not feeling her presence here is.
You already know she's dead.
Sorry. It's hard.
Oh, no, you're fine. You don't need to apologize.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah. So what's this guy doing? Searching for changing the floor? Because what he's doing is he's moving his eyes back and left, but back and right. And he is not making eye contact. And that means that the stuff he was doing in the last one where he was punctuating with his eyes even looks more suspicious now. I don't know where she is. If she is safe, he does a fake eye wipe with that tissue. And I put in my notes, even Murdaugh was smart enough to check his own self and make sure that he had a tear or not. This guy has no clue he doesn't. And there's none of that showing. It looks like he might have rubbed his nose before he came in and that to make him red. I even went with the cops. How magnanimous of you to go with the cops to find your own child. Come on. If this is your child or your partner's child, that I even went. That to me says something about what's in his head. The only key point he makes, again, he goes back to one of his key points. None of the cameras point to the street. Even more suspicious. If we go back and look at the things he said, she was asleep. He's telling his story, and every one of those key points that he probably took out intentionally has that eye lock. If you go back and watch, you'll see it. Listen to cadence change as he starts the narrative of grief. So when I said earlier, people slow down because of grief, he's got it down. He does do the slowing down of grief. But when he gets into the story and he's giving the narrative, it disappears, just goes away. And he starts to lilt and tell his story. The guy asked a question. Everybody's going to say he said in past tense about she was, but the guy asked the question in past tense. He does say she was happy. She had a birthday party, but he said she was a happy kid. And then he shifts gears. And I think he realizes that he said it, and he starts to clean up and say, she is. I would be really careful with a guy like this because I can tell this guy might be the kind of guy, we always hear people saying, we tell people how to lie. This guy may be the kind of guy who's been binge watching us for days because he knows he's going to talk to the TV. Because I think he probably thinks he's smarter than he is. And he also says, I did not feel her presence. It's hard not feeling her presence. And the mother says the same thing in an earlier interview. Language matters. And people, while they're partners and they do talk, most people don't have the language to talk about that. because we don't deal with that in our lives. If you've lost somebody very close to you, you may use that language. But if you haven't, who walks around using those words? Most people don't. So this guy, look, we all know now he's been arrested for, and there was evidence against. And if you want to know about that evidence, go look it up. But there's plenty here to make you really want to dig further and ask a bunch more questions. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. Rather than saying, look, we miss her, we want her home, get her home, not feeling her presence here, that idea is usually reserved for the dead. So, yes. It's out of place here. I agree with you, Greg. We have the question is asked: what was she feel? What was her demeanor the day before? She was happy. Makes sense. What was it like the day before? She was happy. Then she was a happy kid. Okay, well, that's now a generalization in the past tense, and that which could be fine if it wasn't corrected to go, she's a happy kid.
Right.
So that does stand out for me there. And this last thing here is he hasn't looked at the footage on the video. There's an idea that there's some video out there where she is seen, but it's grainy in some case. If I was looking for my daughter, I'd be like, and I've seen that video and it's her, or I've seen that video and it wasn't her. I would have looked at that video because I would be going, I'm going to know my daughter better than anybody else. I'll be able to tell if it's her. I'll be able to tell if she's being followed. I'll be able to tell from a gate if she's happy at that point or not. I will have more information than anybody else if I can see that footage. He hasn't even looked at it from his description. Well, that's odd. That's odd. Even if he's guilty, if I was guilty, I'd be going, I want to look at that footage because I want to see whether what the hell's happening. What the hell's happening here? I want to see whether this is enough for me to go, yeah, see, that is her, that she's alive at that point. Yeah, not dead in the back of my car right now. That's her alive. Yeah, I would want an alibi out of that if I was guilty for a start. And if I was not guilty,
I'm glad we're laughing right now. I know this is a serious case, but we have to lighten it up sometimes because I've been consuming true crime for, my whole life. And so I try to lighten things up. But, oh, man, you guys, the crime crew and the behavior panel right now, I'm like wiping my eyes because everything we're doing a Stephan Sterns roast over here. And, just roast him. We know he did it already. He's being charged. We've it's guilty until proven innocent, but we're not the law. We're not in court, none of that. So roast him. Let's roast him.
Guilty, and I'm looking for my kid. I want to see that footage. He's not even looked at it. That is bizarre. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Y'all covered a lot here, and I agree. When he says it keeps coming in waves, reality keeps hitting, those are things you say after an event has concluded. After there's some certainty about the end of that event.
Wasn't this the day after? Or not even, the morning after she went missing. She was like gone that night for a few hours. That wasn't even a full 24 hours. So, yeah, if you didn't know that.
And he's still injecting difficulty into the search with more finality in his tone. There's no real emotion, no tears, no facial expressions of grief. Can't make eye contact during the critical times when it's reasonable to do so. And when the details aren't helpful or relevant, when a child's missing, parents who are innocent don't spend time on those details ever, ever, ever. So when you see a mountain of detail about everything, that's just a pile of known facts. And then parents briefly skim over the fact that they want help finding the child or they want the child home. These parents need lots of attention, if you get my drift. So the acting here is pretty bad, but it's hard to fake wanting to find somebody if you don't want them found. And it's harder than acting on TV or movies because you have to pretend that everything is the opposite of the truth, not just a version of the truth. So that's why everything feels off here. So he mentions happy 3 times in this. Did y'all pick up on that? Like happy and happy and happy. That's something I would love to ask about if I was this reporter. And again, I wish the media would just download that PDF I put in the description down below It's helpful, and it will help us to analyze your videos if you ever have to interview anybody like this again. Scott, what do you got?
Hey, before you go there, if you're watching this, you're welcome to contact us if you're getting ready for an interview like this, and we will help you go and ask the right questions. We mean that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get a hold of us. The Behavior Panel at gmail.com. And behavior is spelled BEHVHAVIOR. There's no U in there. And it's not behavioral. A lot of people think it's behavioral panel, but it's just the Behavior Panel at gmail.com. Email us. We'll hook you up. So, all right. So when it comes to facial expressions, especially those that deal with true emotion, those expressions don't fade very fast. His expressions do. When he puts on that fake little crying face, and it goes away quickly to a face where he looks like he's almost trying to observe something. It goes away. Fake won't stick. That's one of the things about true emotion. If you have true emotion, it lasts. Sometimes if you have a surprise, the surprise doesn't last very long. Anger lasts a while, and happiness lasts a while. But even at its largest, when you're happy, it starts fading some. But when you see someone who has a sad face and it goes back to normal, the sad face goes back to normal, it's not because they're thinking it becoming sad and it's going away. It's because they can't make it stick. He thinks he.
So if you didn't see the other part of this, go back and watch the first part. I'll link it tomorrow after it processes. What he's talking about is they have interview questions for people that do news, like newscasters, when they're interviewing like Chris Watts or Letitia Stout, when they get to actually interview the people that are close to the family when someone's missing. They want them to ask the right questions so we can see what emotions involved. And the questions aren't really questions about anything other than trying to fill out how they are and see their behaviors. So yeah, email them, subscribe to them, share, all that. Those guys are great.
He's still making that face, or he's under the impression because he's trying to do that, but it just starts fading away. That's what we're seeing here. That's what lets us know he's not truly sad about anything. That little Mickey Mouse voice he's got going and that fake expression fading like that. He looks normal. He looks unbothered. If you just stop this and look at it, and it looks like he's looking for something. It's the oddest behavior for someone who's supposedly worried about somebody or has just experienced something where someone in their family or one of their close, someone they love is missing. That whole thing isn't right. You guys covered just about everything. So there you go. I'll leave it there.
Keep playing.
All right, Mark, you win that one.
I was the only player.
Nobody else is concerned now. I got all that guff. Now nobody's.
One of those tape replays.
It's hard not to blame myself.
What has the conversation been with Jenn since?
She's been a lot stronger than me. She's been holding it together really well, and but it just keeps coming in waves. Just the reality keeps hitting, and we don't know where she is. We don't know if she's safe. We're just scared. We just want her home.
Have you, like, literally put boots on the ground, went out?
Yeah, I even went out with the cops where I had dropped her off. And we looked all up and down the road, all along the communities, and there was nothing helpful. None of the cameras were pointing the street. Nothing, which in 2024 was surprising. The church across the street had some cameras, and they mentioned seeing her waiting around in the parking lot for a while before moving on, and that was it. But it was grainy. It was grainy footage, and not much else.
Does it seem like she walked west, east?
They said in the direction of the school. I'm not sure what that is.
It's interesting that he says that, and I've heard this so many times. Why does he say in hindsight now, they said she walked in the direction of the school east? I'm not sure where that is, but he's the one that dropped her off. Who's they, and what did they say, and how does he not know where the school direction is? Anyway, we're almost done, y'all, and then I'm going to say goodnight.
What was the language, not language verbally, language, body language, when you dropped her off? Did she seem happy? Was she like, I'm going to meet my friends?
Happy. She got a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party. She was happy that we were all together here. And She's just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl. She brings a lot of joy to us, and we just,
I bet.
Just not knowing.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down.
It is now.
Not feeling her presence here is. Sorry. It's hard.
Oh no, you're fine. Don't need to apologize. Do apologize. What do you want our viewers to know when they see this?
She's a sweetheart. She's a very sweet, kind girl.
Yeah.
Just please be nice to her. Bring her home if you find her. Tell her that we love her. Wherever she is, I hope she's okay.
I mean, if someone were to come in contact with her and you gave me her diagnoses, would it be easy to approach her without any like agitation or anything?
Yeah. She's a good kid. She's a good kid.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence, waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school, to now speaking to me after talking to the police about her being missing for over 24 hours right now. In one complete sentence, what would that be?
A living nightmare. It's a living nightmare.
It's about to be.
They started off like any other. I just want to wake up. You just get hit with waves of the reality. Just it's setting in. As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart because we knew it wasn't going to come to an end. And now we're going on 24 hours and still nothing. Just conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive and none of it's helpful. We just want a baby girl back.
Tom, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
No, I'm good.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, okay. So stronger emotions.
We're on the tail end of it, and you guys are amazing for coming back with me. I did a live earlier, and some of you were there, and then a bunch of you are here now, so thank you so much. We're at the tail end of it. Hang in there. We don't have much longer, but I appreciate every one of you so much. We got our crime crew, and we're about to ramp up.
On this one. So that could start to look in his favor because suddenly I start going, okay, bit of the breathing stronger, it's ramping up here. That would all be good if he wasn't shading his eyes so we can't see in them. So just as everybody's been saying, when you're having real emotions, real heightened emotions, most of which really can't last for more than 10 minutes. It's about the maximum that your metabolism can keep up. A really strong, even if you're joyously happy, 10 minutes is about it because you just run out of energy. You'll start to feel hungry, like you'll get depleted of glycogen from your liver. It's like you get, you get that kind of hollow feeling after a while because it's just such an energetic drain. But you aren't concerned with what people think of those emotions. That's when it's great to see people laugh out loud because it's like, well, they don't care. It's so funny they don't care. Same with crying out loud. The person doesn't care anymore about what people think of them. He cares. And that's why he's not letting you see his eyes. Bad actors are the same, really bad actors. They'll go for the emotion and then they'll start looking away and start saying their lines into the floor somewhere. It's like, they don't want me to see that this isn't going well for them. It's not the real thing. So I don't buy it at all still. Greg, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, just a few things. Not one word to this girl. Not one word. When he's asked to say anything he wants, not one word to the girl. There's more no tears. He talks about her, when he does talk about it, he talks about bringing her back and finding her and picking her up like she's an inanimate object. Well, probably for a reason. Mm-hmm. And clearly he has said something to this reporter about her having something wrong because he talks about diagnoses. So some kind of disorders, something, again, back to the mother saying ADHD. This guy's like pulling teeth. You're trying to get information, maybe you're like pulling teeth. And the interviewer even hands him hands him exactly what to say. Says, if you had one sentence, what would you say? All that emotion, Mark, that I agree with you, it all shows up. Guess what? When it shows up is around him saying, we need something conclusive. This is not going to end. Those are not words that you expect. Conclusive, not going to end. Remember where I saw the genuine emotion in her in the very beginning was around waiting, conclusion, not going to end, not feeling her presence. Not a fan. Scott, what do you got?
All right. There's no upheaval of emotion anywhere in this. As people talk about these things, it'll start dawning on them again. There's a camera guy and there's an interviewer. They're talking to me about our child's missing or our loved one's missing. And you see this upheaval of emotion. We don't see that. We don't see many changes at all in his expressions because emotions aren't real. There's no sudden panic. There's no realization of the horror that's going on in this situation. None of that. Zero. He just gets at one spot and just kind of glides right along right there. His blink rate's fairly low. It's not anywhere near as low as the woman's was, but it's fairly low. And then I think he's just parroting what he's heard other people say. I think he's just, bringing parents back into this. I think he's just copying and saying what he's heard other people say in this situation who are actually missing someone. I think that's what we're hearing. He's trying to remember how to say those things. I think he's thought about it before. He's rehearsed it in his head, but he hasn't said it out loud. That's why it sounds a little so odd as well. But he's just parroting what he's heard before. So there's no despair. There's no anger. There's no nothing here. So many things are missing. There's no grief. He shows no true behaviors of grief. We don't see the size of the mouth go down. We don't see anything in here. The only thing he's got is a dry Kleenex that he keeps pretending he's wiping his dry eyes with and his dry nose with, and he sniffs a lot. That's the Mark. That is the lamest acting I've ever seen. I've seen some pretty bad movies before. That guy's pretty lame. I mean, what do you think his acting is on? Is it one of the worst you've ever seen, or is it?
Well, he lost me on the first video within 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
bad. So bad. Chase, what do you got?
You don't need to be a profiler to look at this clip at all. So here's one tool you can use when the clip comes back on. What does a person default to when they're given an open floor by the media? You can answer most questions when it comes to missing persons announcement with just asking that question. What do they default to when they have the floor? Is it about returning her, asking for help? Is it about hopefulness of finding her in these critical first 72 hours when this video was taken? Is it asking the community to call the police if they see her? Is it emotionally making an appeal or help for assistance? Or is it about their own suffering, their own story, their own lack of sleep, and a very casual mention of wanting the child back, which is what we're seeing here? You'll notice he's saying they want her back with the same vocal tone, again, the same emotional content, the same behavior as when he spelled his name for the camera. That's all I got.
Chase, come on. You haven't said much.
We're not doing another video, so I was going to.
Well, I think it's great. It was great. I was laughing at Greg. Greg went head down, went right in, man.
That's all I do is this.
Yours look contemplative, Chase. I'll give you that.
One of those tape replays.
I do apologize. What do you want our viewers to know when they see this?
She's a sweetheart. She's a very sweet, kind girl. Just please be nice to her. Bring her home if you find her. Tell her that we love her. Wherever she is, I hope she's okay.
I mean, if someone were to come in contact with her and you gave me her diagnoses, would it be easy to approach her without any agitation or anything?
Yeah. She's a good kid. She's a good kid.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence: waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school, to now.
We're at the tail end of this, everybody, and Carly, I'm just going to answer you because I don't really do Facebook posts too much and like all those discords and everything. A lot of times I really don't know who the people are, and so I don't take what they say. It's hard for me to take what they say because I feel like there's so many trolls. I guess if they show their face, I'm more likely to believe it, and just like, so I don't know if anybody knows anything about updates about Facebook posts, anything that the mom knew and participated. I'm not big on following it, but I'd like to know if anybody has anything like Gray does. He brings people out to talk about it, and they bring the information. Please tell me. I just don't have time for all that, and then a lot of times people are just telling me stories, so I just don't know. But thanks for asking. If anybody knows, please.
Speaking to me after talking to the police about her being missing for over 24 hours right now. And what complete sentence would that be?
A living nightmare. It's a living nightmare. They started off like any other. And I just want to wake up. We just get hit with waves of the reality just it's setting in. As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart. We knew it wasn't going to come to an end. And now we're going on 24 hours and still nothing. Just conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive and none of it's helpful. We just want our baby girl back.
Tom, any questions? No, I'm good. Thank you.
Just one more thing.
All right, now let's do a final verdict opinion of what we've seen so far. With all the videos we've looked at, all the things we've talked about, let's talk about what we actually think is going on. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, for me, the guy straight out the gate, trouble. Absolutely. No question in my mind about it. Within 4 seconds, I was going, there's your issue. The female here, I am concerned about. She knows something at this point. She suspects something, or she has, or she's involved in some way. I don't know which one. I'd be speculating if I did, but she's not giving us everything there. Probably time will tell what the situation actually is. Chase.
Yeah, things just aren't adding up. I'm not sure the mother was arrested or not. I don't know, but it looks very unusual. And I've personally, outside the behavior panel, and all of us have, I've analyzed several hundred of videos like this. And I hope the media gets a hold of that PDF. It would make your interviews better. It would make our analysis better. So I linked it in the description down there. And none of us are forensics experts. And behavior alone should never put anybody on trial. But behavior should drive focus and attention until the truth is found. And I think maybe some attention needs to be paid to the other party here. Greg?
People don't accidentally say things. People say things because their brain is functioning in a way. They're either guarding or they're forthcoming or they're doing whatever they do. When I see patterns of speech that are identical in two people, yeah, they're a couple. But this incident occurred days and hours, maybe hours, days before this. So you've not had a lot of time to develop common language around the topic. When I hear language that's common, when I hear word patterns that shift and go back and start over at the beginning when they get interrupted in storytelling, when I hear words like, or stress around words like waiting and conclusion, I don't feel real good about that. So for me, while I can't say this woman knows anything, she certainly has a whole lot of indicators, red flags that would cause me to say, what does she know? Does she have a suspicion? And that's the reason for all of this kind of wonky body language? Or is it something much deeper? Because what we see here are two strategies. One is a grieving animated, not realizing that grief takes away your thinking brain and you're not protecting the self. And the other is this emotional, deep in a well person, both of which are about this person, not about the missing child. The missing child should be center of mind for anybody who is not worried about protecting self and image. Don't see it? I bet we see more out of this, and that's my opinion. Scott, what do you got?
All right, here's what I think is going on. And again, this is just an opinion, just what I think. Could be wrong. There you go. Before I say this. So I think the key word here is we. They both said we. They both used we.
Keep this in mind. These are the final thoughts. We're at the home stretch. You can see here we've maxed out our time, and everybody, I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. So let's finish this, and then we can all say goodnight to each other.
When they're talking about dropping her off at school, she had to define afterwards that he was her partner. He did it. My partner dropped her off. He was pretty much doing the same thing when he would say we. So there's that connective word, we. They're both saying that. She looks scared. She looks afraid. She shows every sign of fear and terror that she's going to be in trouble too, that she's holding something back. She's talking the same way he's talking. Their stories are very similar. They sound the same. Everything looks like they've colluded. Everything looks like they've been talking about what happened and discussing it. In my opinion, it's only my opinion, could be wrong. Don't take this for a fact, but I think they are together on this. I think she does know about this. I don't think she had anything to do with killing the child, but I think she knows about it. I think obviously knows about it, but I mean, I think she knows what happened. I think she knew what happened beforehand during this interview. I think she knew what happened and is trying to hide that. That's just what I think, but that's what I really do think. And if you and like I said, the people doing this investigation, fellas, ladies, heads up, talk to this woman a little bit more. She knows a whole lot. You probably already know this, and you may be going, "Dang it, what's that? Why is he saying? Why is he telling her, giving her a heads up?" Sorry, man. So, all right, think it's another good one, fellas, and we'll see you next time.
What do you got?
All right, everybody, we made it. Wow, we made it. We made it through almost 2 hours. We're at 1 hour and 56 minutes and 41 seconds, and I appreciate every single one of you. I can't believe how many people were in the chat tonight. This is awesome. Carly, thank you for supporting me as much as you do. I appreciate that. Every one of you, I appreciate the whole crime crew, but Carly supports me and she motivates me and she's helping me. She's awesome. Like, I don't even know how she finds the time to do that. She's got Greeno, Anthony, True Crime Investigates, and, she works all day and she's just amazing. Thank you so much, Carly, for helping and motivating me. She reminded me, I almost did this tomorrow night, and she reminded me to woman up. I'm not going to say man up because I don't want people thinking that, but woman up. Get on here and do my thing. And I have a bunch of people that are in Central and East Coast time, and I wanted you all to catch it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. And please, let's just send out love and good vibes to the family and whoever's involved in this. We don't know exactly the real deal yet. Hopefully tomorrow somebody will text me and let me know the update at 2:00. If there's anything, then I'll come back on and I'll let you guys know. I appreciate you all. Good night, crime crew, and I love all of you. I love you guys. Are amazing. Sadie's mama, day one, like real deal day one, along with Misty and Carly, everybody. So Jojo, for show, you're a day one. Good night. I'm going to play my outro. Check it out.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?